some more time on his clock, but little does he know he is actually winning in this position. And now it is drawn, and now it is made to 2. And booty! Unspeakable! I cannot believe what I have just witnessed. This has got to be the most extraordinary finish to a chess game I have ever seen in my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Full Strive Chess Tournament. We have had a multitude of tournaments, but I am excited to bring you one of our best tournaments yet. We have a lot of new faces in this tournament, a lot of new players that are excited to show off their skills in our tournament format to shoot their shot at a chance at glory in the the Wall of Fame channel in the Discord server, and a shot at $10 as the cash prize for winning this chess tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Full Strive Chess Tournament. This is our first game of the day, and we have d4 on the board, the worst move in chess. I am just kidding. I am an e4 player. I like d4 just as much as e4, but e4 is definitely better. Anyways, we have an Indian game, East Indian anti-Nimzo, Queen's game at decline now, with a pawn pushes on g3, and we are coming in hot fast. Now, this pawn does look like it's hanging here as it stands. Generation. This player's name is Generation, but their account's name is Page Alt Account, but their name is Generation, by the way. Katie responds by moving the knight up to c6. Generation responds by moving the bishop up to f2, and both players are playing very, very fast and very, very coordinated to start this one. Who is going to come out on top and advance to the second round? The bishop now slides up to e7, and it appears white does castle now. Good principled play. Get the king to the safety, and I think that black should also probably try and castle here now. That's the third top engine move. Second top engine move is, the knight moves in now. Ooh, and that's a bit of an overextension there from black. The knight now moves forward to b4. The queen slides up to b3. Ooh, and I love this idea from Katie. Striking with the pawn. No regard for human life. The pawn pushes forward to a4. Katie now attacking. Oh, and it's a complete catastrophic blunder. Can Katie find the move? Knight e4. Knight e4 is the winning move. And Katie finds it. And the only move you can play. And the game is lost. It is now a fork for Katie. Katie, with an absolute clinic of a start on only move 11, has Generation on the ropes very, very early. With knight c2, it is a fork of the pieces, and Generation needs to figure out something fast. But there's only so much they can do. What a combination Katie has. Moving the knight down here to this square. I think it was this square, actually. And then the queen slid up here somewhere, and it was b3. The queen was over here on b3, and then pushing the pawn forward. Stellar play from Katie. Generation now taking a little bit of time to try and coordinate and figure out what exactly she needs to play. Generation vouches for moving the queen to d1, and Katie does the principal move, which is to go ahead and take that rook. Katie is now up a clean rook as it stands. Now, if I am Katie, I am trying to take my sweet time here and try and milk the clock as much as I can, try and get time off Generation's clock and win a good, clean game, being up a clean rook. Now, the top engine move here would probably be knight b3. Good. I honestly love that move. Get the knight out of danger right away and try and start pushing for a little more pressure in white's position. White, down a clean rook, needs to figure out a way to keep pieces on the board, whereas Katie, the current leader in this game, needs to try and figure out a way to get pieces off the board. And Katie strikes with the pawn to g5. Very interesting move. Now the rook is under attack, but Katie, exquisite touch, pushes the pawn now to f6, attacking the bishop. And it looks like the bishop is trapped. Or is it? And in this position, Generation waves the white flag. An honorable resignation, being down a rook. And Katie will be moving on to the second round of the Full Strive chess tournament. Congratulations, Katie. GG's to Generation. All of you in the chat right now, please, 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 please tell Generation GG's in the chat. All right, and we are underway for the second match of the Full Strive Chess Tournament. We have Bodhi playing with the black pieces, Mongo, a seasoned vet in the Full Strive Chess Tournament, playing with the white pieces, and Bodhi is a newcomer in these tournaments. Can he pull off the win against Mongo? We are going to find out here shortly. So we have a Gucci Piano game on the board. I personally love this opening so much. Yes, it's a little bit slower play, but there are so many opportunities you can create. Mongo now pushes the knight forward to c3. Ooh, that's an interesting move. And now the knight moves over to a5 for Bodhi. Bishop now slides back here. And now if the knight takes the bishop here, this pawn's going to take, and now the rook's going to be coming in here. So this is interesting. Okay, so this file is completely open now for the rook. Good job by Bodhi castling the king over here on the king side. The queen now slides up to e2. And Bodhi taking a little bit of thought here. I'm thinking, so a6, h6. Yeah, h6 is played. So now we have bishop e3. And I believe Bodhi should just go ahead and take this bishop now. Because if you don't, I mean, maybe you could slide the knight over here, perhaps. But then Mongo wouldn't even have to take the bishop here. Ooh, sliding the bishop. That's interesting. Okay, so now the pawn takes. And Mongo has a slight positional advantage. Very, very slight. But it is not quite clear how. The engine is saying g4. G4 followed by bishop d7. Okay, whatever. Pawn now pushes now to d4. And that's still a good move from Mongo. I still believe that is a good move from Mongo. Not the best move on the board. Eventually, Mongo's going to have to castle here eventually, which I think he should do as soon as he can. Now maybe he can take this pawn. I think taking this pawn would be okay now. So if you take that pawn, yeah, d takes on e5 is the top engine move. You can also castle here. Mongo vouches to close the position down, though, and push the pawn forward to d5. Very interesting. So, all right, so there's a couple ways that Bodhi could respond to this. I feel like he needs to try and get this bishop into the game here. Maybe slide the bishop up here. Maybe get the rook over here and then try and get the queen up here, maybe. All right, so he slides the bishop up to d7. I like that. So now your entire back rank is now connected. Mongo did castle here. I think that was a good move there. And Mongo now slides the rook over. Okay, so the pawn now pushes, and now Bodhi has a pretty solid pawn structure here. All these pawns are going to be covered here on the light squares. And if I'm Mongo, I see a light squared bishop on the board. I'm trying to get as many pawns on the light squares as I possibly can to negate that bishop's attack and threat. Bodhi now pushes the pawn forward to a5, a very fascinating move. And Mongo takes the pawn here on b5. The bishop is going to take back, but the queen will also take right back. And this is getting very tricky. Very, very tricky, very, very fast. The best move on the board here is queen b6, and that apparently loses the game on the spot. Mongo is up a clean piece of material now. And if this pawn takes here, if the queen takes, the rook takes, Mongo just up a clean piece of material as it stands. And that is exactly what happens on the first move. The pawn does take. Mongo probably, I honestly wonder if he'd be better off taking the rook first here, because then the queen would have to take it. The queen is going to be over here in no man's land. And also when the queen does slide over here, okay, so he doesn't take. The queen would also be attacking here. Actually, wait, no, it would be before that. So the queen would have to slide up and then attack here. But essentially, the defender of this pawn would be removed. So the queen does take here, and Mongo just up a clean piece of material. So Bodhi needs to be very careful because he is now down material, and it is very important that he tries to keep. And a devastating blunder has occurred. But Mongo misses it. He needed to take the rook here. Queen would have to take back, and then the queen would win this pawn. But he doesn't find it. He pushes the pawn forward to b3. He is still winning in this position, but there are questions that need to be. And another blunder is committed by Bodhi. The rook can now take again. Oh my gosh. Oh, but he takes the pawn. Honestly, not a bad move. Not a bad move. There's still life here. Mongo needs to take this rook, and he needs to take this rook like right now. The knight takes. Mongo needs to take the rook. Take the rook right here, Mongo. You have to take the rook here. There are so many problems in this position now for Bodhi. But Mongo moves the knight backwards to h2. He is still winning in this spot. But he had a much bigger opportunity to capitalize. The king now takes, and now the queen's probably going to come up here with check now. And then the king would have to slide back. And that is exactly what happens. The king is now going to have to slide back, the only move on the board. And now Bodhi is also coming closer and closer to 1 minute on his clock. This game is going to turn on its rocker in a mere matter of seconds, so do not leave for one moment, y'all. This is getting very, very intense here. By the way, this pawn is also hanging right here. The engine is not actually calling for this move, though. It's calling for queen e7 or rook ac8. Rook ac8, rook right here. But the queen now slides down, and now queen takes on b7 is now a threat. Yeah, this pawn was also hanging, by the way. So this pawn is hanging, and so is this pawn. A better move would have been to play here, so you cover both of these pawns here. Mongo now takes the queen, or excuse me, uses the queen to take the pawn now on b7, and he is in the driver's seat in this one. Can he finish this game off in style? The rook now slides over. The rook can just straight up take now, because the rook cannot take back because it's going to be pinned to the king. This is a free rook right here. A free rook is on the board, but Mongo misses it. What is he thinking? Sliding the queen up, but it is okay. He is still up 2 pieces of material. Is there any shot that Bodhi saves his position? Time could be a factor here shortly. Bodhi does only have 30 seconds on his clock, so he does have to start moving a little bit faster. But how exactly do you navigate this? Like the main way to go about this is to just keep material on the board, right? You need to start targeting his pieces, trying to figure out anything. I honestly feel like a better move would have been to move the queen down here to d8, maybe, and then eventually maybe slide the rook up over here. Ooh, and now Bodhi's trying to create a threat coming down here, trying to create some pressure coming down on this king side here. Now, perhaps he's thinking about getting his queen up here to create a checkmating threat, but that can be quickly negated by the quick push of pawn to g3. Now, oh man, there's just so much happening in this position. Okay, so the queen now slides over to h3. I honestly like that move from Mongo, and now the best move on the board is rook g5 apparently. But instead, he vouches for sliding the queen over. And now, honestly, if I'm Mongo, I am just playing a very... Oh my god! I thought he wanted to mate, but instead he's pinning the queen to the king, getting material off the board. And this looks like it might be GG's for Mongo. Bodhi, desperately looking for a shot. He does get 2 seconds of bonus time every time he makes a move. And now the rook slides down to attack the pawn. This position is basically lost. I'm sorry, it's not even basically lost. It is completely lost. And now Mongo has 2 passes. Not even 2 passers. 3 passers coming down this side. Is there any hope, any shot that the game can be saved? The king slides over. And now, Mongo needs to get his rook out of here. He needs to save the rook. The rook does slide over to c6. Best move on the board. 12 seconds on Bodhi's clock. Then that pawn now pushes forward. Now Mongo's pushing the pawn forward. Bodhi, with 10 seconds on his clock, he needs to make a move. 8, 7, sliding the rook over in a desperate attempt. Mongo just needs to push the pawns forward, and it will be GG's in a matter of seconds. The pawn pushes now, but these pawns are going to negate this. There's no stopping these pawns. The rook now slides down. Pawn pushes. I think Mongo needs a take here. Good take here. And now you need to slide the king up. You need to slide the king up. Oh, but instead he slides the rook over. An even better move than what Full Strife had to say. And now you can no longer push this pawn forward. This game is over. Mongo's going to win. Rook to a8. The rook now takes with check. The pawn threat is completely gone now. King now slides down. The rook can slide over here with check. King slides over. Now you can just push these pawns. Push these pawns. It is over. It is over. Rook now slides down with a desperate check. 1 second on Bodhi's clock. Now he pushes the pawn with check. The king is going to take. Oh my god! And in the sheer blink of an eye, Black is winning! Black is winning! Mongo fumbles! He's made it 21! Mongo fumbles the bag! And in a complete and catastrophic turn of events, with 5 seconds on both I cannot believe what I have just watched. All right, and we are underway for game 3 of the Full Strive Chess Tournament. You opens this game up with e4, and Mint responds with e5. I'm going to tell you all right now, these are both two brand new participants in our Full Strive Chess Tournament. They are looking at their shot at etching their name in eternal glory in our Full Strive Chess Tournament. And right out of the gate, we have knight to c6 and the pawn pushes. And now Black is going to lose a little bit of development here. Now he moves the knight back. Black needs to start getting his pieces into the game as quickly as he possibly can here. Now, good job by White getting the knight into the game. This knight is covering this pawn, so you don't need to worry about this pawn just yet. I'm probably moving my bishop up here. You could probably move your knight up here, too, to attack this pawn. Black would probably respond with pushing the pawn forward to d6, but instead vouches to push the bishop up. I honestly don't mind it in the slightest. I think that's a good move. And just like that, Black is down in a mere matter of seconds due to a damaged pawn structure early on in this bout. Now, how exactly do we continue with this? Bishop now moves forward to c4. The engine did not like that move very, very much, but still a good move, I think, because you move the bishop out, get some development here, get the knights into the game. We always preach this, try and get your bishops and your knights into the game as quickly as possible. Now, this might be catastrophic, because if the pawn takes here, if this pawn takes, Black is going to lose their right to castle. Now, if this pawn takes, the light square bishop is covering this diagonal, and if the light square bishop moves up here, it's just completely blocked. But instead, he finds the best move, which I didn't even mention, pushing the pawn forward to d6. And in the sheer matter of seconds, Black is suffocating in this spot. If I am Black here, I am probably pushing this pawn to b3. Or b5, personally. But instead, oh, sorry. Yeah, the best move on the board was b3 here. And Black sacks the bishop. Oh, this is crazy. White is now up a clean piece of material for a pawn, which is 2 pieces of material. The bishop was 3 points, the pawn was 1 point. And Black is on the ropes, and White is looking like they are going to capitalize and finish this game off. Oh my god, can you sack here? It says knight d5. Because if takes, you have a checkmating threat coming here, and you can also take this rook. Wow, that is crazy. But instead slides the bishop down, which is definitely a little bit of a better move in terms of elo. Now the knight moves forward to f4, and U is literally just a couple moves away from putting this game away. Is there any shot that Mint can save this position and try and revive it and stay alive to participate? And by the way, this opening was called the Nimzowitz Defense Kennedy Link Springer Variation. Very interesting. Now the pawn moves forward to g3, attacking the knight, and now the knight is going to have to move now. I honestly wonder if knight e6 would be a good move. It is. It is a top engine move. You probably don't want to go back to g6 because you kind of take away a lot of potential squares that your knight could be threatening. So, okay. Wow, this is actually insane. Now, Black is taking a little bit of time here, as he rightfully should. Good job. He does find the best move, which is moving the knight over to e6. Now, how exactly does White figure out a way to finish this game off in style? The engine is screaming for bishop takes on e6, followed by pawn, or the d-pawn actually taking here. And then the queen would take, king would take, and then when White castles, the king would just slide down probably. But I honestly don't know if that will happen. He might take with this pawn instead, but that would be a really bad move because then the king is just completely trapped, completely and utterly trapped. And White does find the best move, taking the knight. And now he has 1 minute on his clock to mince 1 minute and 45 seconds. And I will remind you one final time that it is 3 minutes plus 2 bonus time. So every time you do make a move, you will get bonus time on your clock. Now, how exactly does White finish this game off? Black now slides the rook over, and White apparently had a better move there, but I honestly don't really see it. The knight now moves forward to e2. Are we going to get a crazy finish here? Is there any inkling of hope for black. Oh, and that is just catastrophic. The queen now slides down though, apparently. So that was the wrong move. But it's like white is up 2 pieces of material. White's chilling right now. White should take their sweet time and try and finish this game off. That is what should happen here in this spot. There should be no mistakes here. Taking your time. You have 1 minute on your clock. Yes, you do need to move a little bit faster, but ooh. And now the queen slides over. Huh? I didn't have Rook A7 here on my bucket list here. The queen can now go over here to check, and then the king's gonna have to move again, and then this pawn's gonna get collected. White putting on an absolute clinic here. Black needs to take a little bit of time here now. What do you even do here as black? Like the engine's calling for D5, but check is gonna be coming, and this pawn's gonna fall off the board. Like, obviously, maybe you slide your rook over, perhaps, but that looks like a bad move, too. Huh. Mint now with less than 30 seconds on his clock, he needs to start moving a little bit faster, or else this game is going to be over in just a couple of seconds here. Now the queen pushes up to deliver a check, and black now has to slide their king. He does, moving the king forward to E7. White now collects the pawn here on H6. Pawn pushes now to B4. Trying to create some kind of counter threat. And also, I will remind you as well, it is pivotal, and I mean pivotal, that black keeps as much material on the board as he possibly can. But to no avail, as the rook falls off the board. And this game is going to be done, said, match in just a couple moments. Catastrophic here from black. Black does get the piece on E2, but to no avail. A little too little, too late. And unfortunately, it will look like our winner is going to be white. But yeah, and in this spot, ooh, that's cheeky. Moving the knight over here to check. Oh my gosh, and the queen is going to fall off the board. Now the king has to slide over, and it is now mate in 2. Knight check. And now the king only has 1 move. Actually, you can go here. Here or here. But either way, it's going to be a mate, right? Yeah, that's the best move. Good job by black finding the best move in the position. Now the queen can come over here to check. Oh, but apparently that's not the right move either, because you lose the knight. Ooh, okay. Black is fighting for a little bit of life here. He has a shot here. He doesn't have a shot. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh my god, but now the rook moves over. Oh, but the pawn pushes, and now it is catastrophic. Wait. The rook is hanging. The rook is hanging. The rook is hanging. Chad is saying there was a free queen there somewhere. Now the king takes on D1. Wait, this is kind of tricky. Mint has 6 seconds on his clock. He does not have time to think. And now this pawn's going to push again. Now the rook has to slide over. And now these pawns are going to be coming down the board. But it is catastrophic. And we are heading towards a draw. We are heading towards a draw. No, but black blunders again. King now slides down. You slides. What is happening right now? And black is winning. No way. There's no way this is real. There's no way. Does black know that they're winning right now? But black has no time to think. 9-6 on his clock. The kings are shuffling. And now there's a draw. Or is it? If white would have gone here, it would have been a forced draw. But another blunder on the board, and it is now another drawn position. This is unfathomable. I cannot believe that black is winning right now. It's over. It's over. Mate won. I cannot believe what I have just witnessed. Our second extraordinary finish of this match. You had it all. but blunders in the endgame. And it will in fact be mint that moves on to the next round. Unbelievable. And we are underway for the final match of round 2 of the full Strive Chess Tournament. And we have a glorious Caro-Kann on the board. You cannot play anything better in chess but the Caro-Kann. The Caro-Kann is the greatest opening to ever grace God's green earth. I am a professional Caro-Kann glazer. I don't care what anyone says about me. I will glaze a Caro-Kann forever. Shout out Gotham Chess. He put me on. But in this spot, you always want to take this pawn, and the knight will take back. And after this move is played, you can either move the bishop here or move the bishop here. You don't want to play this move first, though, because then that would block your bishop. So ideally, usually when I'm in this spot, I'm usually moving my bishop over here. Super does vouch for moving the bishop here. Oh, and apparently is that not accurate? Nah, it's fine. Anyways, so the bishop does move out now. Good development here from white. And now the pawn pushes up. Good job by Super, getting the bishop into the game. Now I'm Super. I'm probably moving my bishop here now. Pin the knight to the king. Get that bishop out of the way early. Now this move is kind of tricky now because now the bishop can come in, but instead white vouches to move the bishop up so that he can create an opportunity for himself to castle. And by the way, both of these players are representing India. Oh my gosh, and I cannot preach this enough. You do not want to push this pawn, the fianchetto pawn, when a bishop is present on this square. It is usually bad 9 times out of 10 because now you have nowhere to go with the bishop. The bishop might fall here. And white had the lead for a split second. But to no avail, Supra has to push the pawn to h6. Otherwise, this pawn can push. This pawn is going to push here. Can Explore Chess find it? g4, and the bishop will be trapped. The bishop will be trapped. The bishop cannot go here because of the knight. The bishop can't go here because of the queen and the pawn and the bishop. And the bishop can also not take this pawn because the queen will take back. And you cannot go backwards because you're blocked. You can't go here because you're blocked. And you cannot go here, like I just said, or here. But instead, he pushes the pawn to a3. And it is, in fact, black who has the initiative. Oh, my God. And Super now pushes the pawn to h6. White vouches to take the knight here. I honestly don't hate it. Both players, a very solid opening other than that first part. Oh, my God. And now you can move. Can you move the bishop here? Oh, my God. But Super takes a free pawn. I was thinking you could move the bishop here to g6. But apparently that is catastrophic for Super. But why? Because of bishop b3? And the queen is going to be trapped. Can Explore Chess find this move? Can he find it? Bishop b3 will trap the queen, and the bishop will have to sack here. And if the bishop doesn't sack here, no, he cannot find it. And it is, in fact, now black with the initiative here. To start this game off early, we have a surplus of various moves, and actually the best move on the board is to actually take this pawn here. Queen takes on c2 because the bishop is covering, and after the queen takes, the bishop is going to take right back because of that coverage. And Super is a very solid player, and I do believe he will find this move, but to no avail. He does not, in fact, find the move, and now the queen moves forward to h6. This is probably not the best move because you do lose a little bit of tempo. Now, you will be able to slide back here, and that will create a threat on this rook here. Oh my word, there is just so much happening in this position. And now white has the initiative. Can white figure this out? Is there any shot that white can figure this out? The top engine move here is rook fc1. Rook fc1 is a top engine move here. Oops, that's the d file. Rook fc1 is a top engine move here, attacking the queen here, and then x-raying this entire file here. Now you can also you can also move the a rook over here too. Knight g3 is also an option apparently. Knight g3 here. Try and create some pressure here. But white taking his sweet time trying to coordinate a move here, trying to figure out something here. Can he find the best move here? His clock continues to dwindle. By the second, every second he wastes is precious time off his clock that will be gone in the endgame. But instead, he vouches to push the knight forward to f4, and that is a catastrophic blunder because of the literal rook takes on d4. And one of these pieces is going to fall. Can I get an absolute cinema in the chat right now?
And Supra finds the best move, and Supra is, in fact, in the driver's seat. Is there any shot at all? Any shot at all that Explorer Chess can save this position? In a desperate attempt, he slides the rook down to attack the queen. Top engine move here is queen d2. Attack the knight, and also pin the knight to the queen.
You can also go queen e4 and bishop g7. Here.
There's no way. There's absolutely no shot. This is real right now. White had a chance to capitalize, but he missed it. I don't even know what the move was. The engine, the move moved way too fast. I honestly wonder if he could have sacked the knight here for a brilliant move. But with 30 seconds on his clock, he could not find that move in a mere matter of seconds. Bishop now slides down to g7. Supra attacking the knight. Or the knight, the queen. I know what my chess pieces are. Now the queen slides up to g5. Now can you push this pawn forward? The engine is screaming for rook d6. Rook d6. But how exactly does that? Because the queen will have a discovered line of... And the position is blundered again by Supra. But with 20 seconds on Explorer Chess's clock, he misses it again. Supra is now below 1 minute on his clock. He is in the driver's seat still. The A-Val bar does say that it is an even position. But there is so much happening. And in the mere matter of seconds, White sacks the knight on g5. Pawn takes back. And now I'm more honestly wondering if you should just sack. Yeah, the top engine move here, the only move to save the position and revive it is to sack the rook on f4. Supra, an absolute dynamite. The bishop now takes the pawn. And the rook is going to take back. And checkmate is coming. The best move on the board is here. But instead, with a catastrophic blunder, White misses the best opportunity he has had in this game to win. Check is now on the board. This is chaos. The rook now slides down with check. The king slides forward to h2. Knight moves up to c5. Rook slides over to f3 with check. King now slides over to a6. Rook check on e3. King now slides over to d6. Pawn pushes forward to f4. And a pawn is blundered. The rook is now attacking the knight. King moves forward. Check delivered. King moves forward down, or excuse me, moves down to f6. Pawn pushes forward, and now the rook is threatening. Knight moves forward. Rook check. King jumps up to e5. King h3. King moves forward to e4. This is Supra's game to lose now. Exploding Chess had his chance, but he has fumbled. King moves forward. King slides over. White cannot take that rook. He now slides the rook over to attack the knight. And we are currently on move 47, but there are going to be a lot of moves to conclude this one. Pawn pushes forward to h5. Knight moves over to e3. Kitty is crashing out in the background. Rook to g2. He had a meeting too, but he missed it. Check delivered. Now the king can slide over. Oh, that's actually not good. But a fork is on the board, and this rook is going to fall. And it appears that it will, in fact, be the undisputed Supra who will win this match. As the rook falls off the board, the pawn desperately looking to push, but to no avail as Supra very calmly sacrifices the rook. And now the pawn will push forward, and a queen will be promoted here. And this game is going to be done, said, match. Pawn a5, pawn a4. The king is just going to take the knight here. Supra has no... Oh, he moves the knight forward. Imagine if Supra drew here. Knight slides over to d5, check delivered. The knight's going to fall off the board, but you just push the pawn. Supra's just going to push the pawn, and it's going to be done, said, match. A very, very valiant effort here
from exploring chess. And mate one was on the board there, but instead it's there. And checkmate is in fact delivered on move 69. What a game, you two. What a game. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to round 2 of the Full Strive Chess Tournament between two valiant players, Katie and Bodhi. We have Katie representing the white pieces, Bodhi representing the black pieces, and we are off to the races. We have a Rui Lopez opening, Murphy defense, Mackenzie variation. I probably have never played this opening in my life, and I probably will never play this opening in my life, but I respect these two players. And early on, it appears Katie does blunder a pawn here, but to no avail. The e5 pawn takes the pawn on d4, and you cannot take back here. Actually, you can't take back. You take back with the knight. If knight takes, queen takes, and now this pawn will be covered. However, if the knight takes and then the knight takes here, I honestly wonder. Oh my god! And Katie vouches to take the knight on c6, and black is winning right now because the queen now covers this pawn. Now, can Katie push this pawn forward? No, instead she pushes the bishop up to g5, pinning the knight to the king. Chat, all of you goons in the chat, all my friends in the chat, start dropping your predictions. Captain Bill, Supra, and Mongo, if you guys know how to do the predictions, I kindly ask that you start dropping the predictions now. Who is going to win this one? Katie, a clear favorite and a clear overall fan favorite in our chess tournaments. A seasoned vet. She has won her fair share of chess tournaments, but can she pull off the win against the newcomer, Bodhi? The bishop now trades and takes the knight on f6, and the queen will take back on f6, and now the pawn pushes forward, but apparently that is catastrophic. The engine is screaming, and I mean absolutely screaming, for queen g6. Oh, queen g6. You can also play queen f5, so move the queen forward. You can also play queen f4, moving the queen all the way forward. But this is the best move here. But it's not quite obvious as to why this position is turned on its head. And that is the wrong move, and it does lose a little couple points on the eval bar. But Bodhi is still in the driver's seat in this one. Can he pull off the unthinkable? So the queen now slides back to d8. And now the queen takes. And honestly, if I'm black, I probably am just going to take this queen, because if you do not move this queen, your king would have to take if the queen takes on the next move, and then you'd lose your right to castle. So good move there from Bodhi. I honestly love that move. And Katie is now even in material. Yes, I know she got that pawn back a couple moves ago, but it is an even position. But now, after black moves this pawn forward, it is in fact black who is in the driver's seat, according to the eval bar. Reasons being, these bishops are absolutely sniping right now. Eventually, this bishop's going to get into the game, and now the knight does slide back, but that is honestly not too bad. If I am Bodhi here now, I'm probably moving the bishop up here now, and maybe probably castling after this. Instead, he vouches to move the bishop over. Ooh, I actually don't mind that. Then you castle queenside and get this rook coming down this file. I honestly don't mind that at all. And you're also now threatening this pawn here. So realistically, Katie probably has to, the engine is screaming for c3. That is the only move that saves that pawn, and she does in fact find it. Well done by Katie. The pawn pushes up to c3, and now, ooh, a spicy move. Katie now castles. We just saw g5 played on the board. Very, very interesting stuff. So black now castles. I love that move. Just like I said previously, it is pivotal that this rook is on this file. This rook cannot slide over. Otherwise, it will be mate in 1, by the way. So probably need to move this knight over here eventually now. Perhaps. You also can't go here because then you just hang a knight. Katie now taking a little bit of time. Honestly, you probably push this pawn forward here. Ooh, but instead she slides the rook over to e1, defending the knight. Fascinating. So, what exactly do you do now? Bishop g7. Top engine move played here from Bodhi. And now the knight jumps forward. And this game is quite literally turned on its head for Katie. But Bodhi still has a lot of questions that he has to answer. That is a slight inaccuracy of a move there. Knight h5 is the top engine move here now. Honestly, I don't mind that move, really. Because now you negate Like you're putting a lot of pressure coming down here. Eventually, yes, the rook will get over here eventually if the knight does end up going here. I honestly wonder if you can go knight to d2. That is a move you can play, but that is not as good of a move because you open up discovered attacks that could potentially happen. Katie vouches to move the knight forward, and also Katie now below 1 minute on her clock. Don't go anywhere, guys. I can smell fireworks, and they are burning hot. Oh my God. And as if I didn't just speak it into existence, Katie, with a catastrophic blunder, due to the discovered attack on the rook, Black finding the best move on the board, sliding the bishop all the way back. And you cannot defend this knight. And if this knight moves, this knight will fall off the board. Crippling. And I mean crippling for Katie. Is there any shot of resurrection in this position for white? The rook now takes the knight on the board. Best move on the board. Katie now desperately, and I mean desperately, looking to push the pawn here. And this is not going to be checkmate because the bishop does still cover here. Now, if this bishop comes down here, Katie will be delivering checkmate on the next move. So Black cannot move this bishop anywhere. You have to keep that bishop there. Honestly, maybe probably slide the bishop down. Get that file squared away. Although this rook would still be covering here too, so I guess maybe not. But yeah, so Bodhi does vouch to move the bishop up to d6. And now Katie has 13 seconds on her clock, and she literally has no time to think. She has to move as fast as she possibly can. Bodhi, with 45 seconds on his clock, he also needs to start thinking about time. Bishop now slides down to attack the rook on f6. The rook has to move. But Katie needs to ensure that pieces can remain on the board. It is very, very, very pivotal that she keeps pieces on the board as best as she can. But Katie, now with 5 seconds on her clock, she used way too much time on that move. The rook now slides over. Katie with 3 seconds. Moves the rook over to e1. And now Bodhi has the entire world in front of him. Katie literally has zero time to think. At some point, she is going to have to start pre-moving. She's going to have to start pre-moving. She needs time to get back on her clock. And in the sheer blink of an eye, Black is now in the red. But Katie with 3 seconds on her clock. 2, 1. With 1 second on her clock. Pre-moves. Check on the board. Rook now slides over to h8. In a desperate attempt. 10 seconds on Bodhi's clock. Is there any hope? Rook slides down. King slides up. If the bishop goes here. 4 seconds. 2, 1. And in the mere spatter of seconds, she finds the best move. Taking. And now the king has to slide up. Pushing the pawn forward. Rook slides up. Check. Bodhi has to move this bishop now. And we are now both below 10 seconds. This is absolute madness. Absolute madness. The rook now takes on h6. The rook takes back on a2. The rook slides up to attack the pawn on c7. 5 seconds. 7. 11 seconds. Katie is now somehow up on time. 2. Katie is fighting, and I mean absolutely fighting for her life. Check delivered. King slides up. And Bodhi, in a winning position, runs out of time on move 39. And we are underway for the final round of round 2 of the Full Strive Chess Tournament. The winner of this match will move on to face off against Katie in the final championship round for a chance at eternal glory. And we are coming out hot fast. We have an Indian game, East Indian London system. Supra with a very structured play here. I honestly wouldn't mind moving the bishop over here, perhaps, maybe. The knight now moves forward to c3 for white, and honestly, I love white's development here. White playing very principled chess. Now, maybe you slide the bishop over here now and try and castle here. I think that might be the best play here, perhaps. So the knight moves forward here. Bishop slides down now to attack the knight. That's interesting. Oh my god, now the pawn striking. at center. You cannot move the knight here. You cannot move the knight here. Keep moving the knight there. You probably don't want to because then that'd be looking a little goofy. Now the queen does slide up to b6, and the queen slides right back down to attack the queen and the other queen. This is like a Western stare down, like the queens with their guns. Anyways, the queens do not get exchanged here. The bishop now slides down to d3, and white now has an opportunity to castle here. I think that they should castle here on the next move. I feel like that would be the best move on the board. The pawn now pushes to h6. The bishop slides back to h4. I love that move, and now Supra will have to extend his pawns a little bit more than what he would like, I would assume. Oh, but no, he slides the rook over to e8, and now we get the knight jumping in to attack the queen here on b5, attacking c7. Now, Supra has to be very, very careful. Very, very cautious. Pressure is one of the most brutal parts of these tournaments. Both these players know that I am actively commentating these games, and they know that the pressure is on, and they know that they are going to get clipped for YouTube and all other fun stuff because Full Strive content is goated. Anyways, the pawn now pushes forward to e6, and honestly, I don't really mind that. Try and force a pawn break. The rook can take after that. Yeah, definitely probably take with the rook here. Good job by Supra, because you take with this pawn is going to hang. And now white does vouch to castle here. I honestly don't mind that move. And now maybe, just maybe, you could slide the queen down here, but no. Supra striking with the knight, moving the knight forward to g4. Pawn now pushes. And this was a very rough move. Oh, wait, no. Was Supra trying to rotate the knight? I think he was trying to rotate the knight here. And he does, because after the knight takes, and now this bishop's going to be under fire. Wow. Okay, Supra, I take it back. Kudos to Supra. I respect the game. Now, the knight jumps forward, and this has been an even clash for 18 moves straight. Yes, there were some opportunities for one color, or black or white, to capitalize, but to no avail. Supra now vouches to exchange and take the bishop on the d3 square. The queen follows up with an immediate takes back on the d3 square. And so now what does Supra do here? You cannot bring the queen back to any of these squares for reasons being, oh, but instead he moves the bishop back, and it is in fact Mint who has the advantage. But to no avail. The knight now jumps forward to f6. King moves up. Supra is on the rails, but it is not quite clear as to why. Oh, but wait. Oh, no, the queen does cover. I was thinking there might be a fork here, but the queen does still cover here. Yes, queens can, in fact, move backwards, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy, I know. I never knew that either until I started playing chess. Oh, but apparently that is horrendous. A horrendous move from Supra. Will it be Mint? Is this Mint's time to shine? And now the queen is trapped. Is it? Is the queen trapped? No. The pawn pushes. Bishop slides up. Supra needs to find a way to capitalize here. Can he do it? Pawn takes on g5. Pawn takes back on g5. How? Oh my god, in the mere matter of seconds, the game is blundered due to the ecstatic b5. You can also play rook h6 check. You can also play b takes, bishop takes here. But Supra vouches for the ladder and delivers a check. And now the pieces are exchanged, and we are back to an even position. Mint had everything you could ever dream of in a spot like this to capitalize and move the needle a little more forward towards his chance at being in the world championship. The world full strive chess tournament. Screw it. This is the world championship. I want cinema, and I only want cinema. The rook's now sliding over. Good job by Mint, pushing that pawn forward, creating an escape route for his king. I honestly very, very much like that move, because otherwise you would be checkmated on the next move. So now the king is going to have to slide down if that check does come in. These rooks are going to be covering each other too, so eventually, likely, if Supra does not take this rook will take back. Actually, that would lose a piece. So Supra has to move the rooks. He has to either exchange the rook or move the rook down. Honestly, I wouldn't mind exchanging the rooks here, but instead he vouches to slide the rook down. Honestly,
And it's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's over. It's over. Ladies and gentlemen, it is over. After a catastrophic blunder. A brutal blunder from Mint. Oh my god, and Maiden 1 is on the board. But it is missed by Supra. Oh my god, it is just catastrophic. Mint had everything. He had everything. But you don't resign in these spots. You do not resign in these spots. Is there any hope at resurrection here? At redemption? At life? Mint just absolutely and utterly clinging to life. After that move, the king is going to slide up, and this rook is going to fall off the board. Oh my god, it is brutal. It is completely brutal. Ooh, you could have gone here. And checkmate is delivered by Supra on move 40 of this game. I would just like to congratulate Mint on a very, very solid tournament. He played his heart out, and he almost, and I mean almost, pulled off one of the craziest upsets. Supra, a stellar performer in all of these tournaments. But unfortunately, Mint will fall in this one, and it will in fact be Supra, who moves on to the final championship match to face off against Katie in the Full Strive Chess Tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the championship match of the Full Strive Chess Tournament between Supra and Katie. Two exquisite tournament performances so far from these two, and only one can come out on top. And who exactly is it going to be in this one? So far, we have an Indian game played, Black Knight's Tango. The bishop now slides up to g2. The Indian game Black Knight Tango is what we see on the board. And now, honestly, yes, I honestly like that from Super. Slide the bishop up, attack the bishop. Now the bishop does have to take. I was gonna say the knight has to take back, but instead, Katie vouches for the queen. And in a mere matter of seconds, Katie has a very strong positional advantage to start this bout. Now, the knight is in here and threatening dang near the entire position here. But Katie very coolly and calmly slides the queen back to c1. And now white can now move this knight forward. Oh my god, and it is it's not catastrophic, sorry. I keep using that word. I need to find new words. Dramatic! Anyways, white now castles. And what does black do here now? I honestly, after pushing this pawn, I probably am not a fan of castling now. It looks like Katie's trying to just throw an absolute whirlwind of an attack coming down here. And now the bishop moves up to d7. Knight moves forward to c3. And it is in fact white who is in the very, very slight edge of a driver's seat early. Black now takes the knight here on c3, and the queen will take back. And this pawn is in fact covered. Now this pawn was hanging for the longest time. There were in fact opportunities to eventually recapture it, but to no avail. That pawn is going to be covered by the queen. And now black very viciously moves the queen forward to f6, attacking this pawn, pinning the pawn to the queen. Oh, the queen is covered by the pawn, so honestly not really that too big of a threat. So in this spot, if I am white, I am honestly probably okay with moving the knight forward. Bold play here from Supra. I don't think we've ever gotten a two knights tango before. I don't even know what that is. Nice. I don't even think they know what that is. But anyways, the knight now takes the piece on d7, and now the king is going to be forced to take back, and black has officially lost their right to castle. But it is not as bad as it seems, because now that the king is off that file, oh my god, and now the position has crumbled. The position has crumbled for Supra. Supra no longer has the advantage on the eval bar due to the knight taking the pawn on d4. Oh my gosh, and Supra needs to be extremely careful, because if he does not move his queen... Oh, but okay, that does salvage the position. If Supra were to take this pawn here, this knight would have taken with a magical fork to win the queen. But to no avail. It is now deadlocked with Katie up a piece. The eval bar says it's like only plus 0.5, but anyways. The rook slides over now. Katie taking a little bit of a think now. Katie is now well over 40 seconds below Supra on her clock. She eventually here soon will have to start using a little bit of time. Time did become an issue in our previous match, but it was Katie who came out on top. Katie, an absolute magician when it comes to the clock, utilizing her 2 seconds of bonus time to a professional T. Oh my God. And after a bit of thinking, the knight is going to be trapped. And it is in fact Supra. It is Supra in the driver's seat. E3 played. The engine is screaming for H takes on G3, which is what is in fact played. Oh my God. Is there any shot at life? Super does play an inaccurate move there, but it is to no avail. He is still, in fact, in the driver's seat. Katie, yes, she is, in fact, up a piece of material. Oh, the knight isn't trapped. Oh, but this pawn's going to fall. Beep, beep. Coming in here. Oh, man. Do you slide the rook over now? No, you slide the rook up. And it is, in fact, Katie now who has the advantage. But why? Because of the ecstatic E4. But Katie cannot, in fact, find it and blunders this pawn here. But, if Super takes that pawn, the queen comes down to check. King slides up here, and this rook is actually covering. The rook is actually covering that. See, Katie will not be able to take that pawn. And it is now white who has the biggest lead of the game yet. King now slides up to F2. Katie needs to find a way to salvage and to salvage fast. But she is now officially in the red with 15 seconds on her clock. Is there any hope? Any hope whatsoever? The pawn now pushes to G6. The queen takes the pawn on D5. King slides over to E7. And now, honestly, do you push this pawn? I honestly don't mind. If you push that pawn... Yeah, E4 is the best move. E4 is the best move. And then you can also play queen E5 check. Oh, my word. And it is just completely and utterly catastrophic for Katie. Good move from Supra. Katie now with 14 seconds on her clock desperately moves the knight back to D6. And now the pawn pushes forward. And the storm is getting very, very violent, very, very fast. But wait, we have a plot twist. The pawn now pushes, and now Katie has a little bit of life. Just a wee bit of life. But she cannot take this pawn. She cannot take this pawn. She needs to play rook HD8. But with 0.2 seconds on her clock, she moves the knight forward. And a discovered attack is created. 2.8 seconds on Katie's clock. Queen check. King takes. Check delivered by the queen. King slides back. Katie has 2 seconds on her clock. There's no way she can come back, right? No way. And but Super slides the rook forward. Not the best move on the board, but still a good move. But Katie loses on time on move 28. A devastating championship loss, but a valiant and honorable tournament by Katie. Every one of you stop right now and start saying GG's in the chat to Katie. Everybody tell Katie GG's in the chat. Katie, I respect you. You fought with honor and valor. And I'm grateful you showed up. You put on an absolute spectacle in this tournament today. GG's to you. But ladies and gentlemen, it is in fact Supra with his first ever full stride chess tournament victory, who will be claiming the $10 cash prize.